And just to touch a little bit on advanced care planning, I cannot stress enough how important this is, and really stress to a lot of people that it's important to consider doing this when you are well, of course, so that you aren't dealing with the stress of creating your plan. So it's reflection, communication. How do you want things to go? What do you need to know? Um, what can a doula help you with? What can your family help you with? um, be able to speak openly with the people around you, your circle of care, and then document what your wishes are. Cannot say enough about the importance of advanced care planning. And it is not a legal document, but certainly something that can accompany your legal documentation. Advocacy, just around the many decisions. So, I'm there for dealing with making appointments, even if your caregiver, or if you don't have a caregiver, and just finding out what you need and making sure it happens for you in a timely fashion. So, creating those opportunities and having discussions with loved ones and healthcare professionals, and also post-death support uh, for your family. Caregiver respite. We cannot say enough about respite. We know that the very role of caring takes a toll. So, we want to make sure to provide an opportunity for a break from responsibilities. And that can mean a lot of different things. Running errands, practical tasks. I mean, there's just no end to how we can fill that gap. And we often talk about gaps in our systems. And yes, there are gaps, but we're trying to get away from using that word because we don't want to look at other people in the healthcare systems as not fulfilling their roles. So when we say there's gaps, it's almost like we're saying they aren't doing their job. However, we are all trying to help and be there. So yeah, anyway, we just recently came across that language and had a really great discussion about trying to get away from that uh, that language of filling the gaps. We want to be added to a circle of care. We don't want to remove anyone or anything like that. So another thing we do is legacy work facilitation. And this is sometimes can be very difficult for people, but it can be so transforming. And I'll give an example of, I once was speaking with a man who I was visiting him as I was a volunteer at a hospice. And I would go once a week and we would play cards. And one day I asked him, how would you like to tell me your life story so that you have something for your children and grandchildren? And he said, oh, my life's been boring. And I said, no, no, no one's life is boring. And it turned out to be an incredible experience for him. We talked about, and sometimes all it takes is, who was your best friend in grade 5? And it can just spur some beautiful creation. And there are a lot of people who are working on this kind of legacy work, people who write music for someone based on their story, creating pieces of art. This can be a beautiful way for families to connect through this difficult transition, writing letters, that kind of thing. So creating opportunities for those connections is a really important part of what a doula can do. Vigiling, of course, helping at bedside when someone is close to the end can really help. And that can just simply be sitting quietly with family, reading, providing healing touch, creating rituals that are important, and grief and bereavement support, leading to and following, and that support can go to, I mean, it's not about an individual. It again is about the entire circle of care. So we are there for all of it to help everyone around you, you especially, of course. And yeah, that's kind of a snapshot of the work that we do. And these are some pre-questions. Um, so I thought I would just, Aaron, if it's okay, I'll just speak to these questions, and then we can, if anybody else has additional questions, we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So how can I better handle my emotions and offer support? I think the first thing that we all have to be mindful of is we have to honor our emotions as well. Well, someone is, we want to care for someone, we want to be strong. I think, personally, that trying to not, address the emotions can cause more distress for you as the caregiver, as a family member. And it's an opportunity to, come together and really speak to what you're experiencing. Grief, you're experiencing anticipatory grief. Everybody is experiencing the emotions. So, I think, creating an opportunity for talking about it. If you're not comfortable creating that opportunity, finding a professional or semi-professional like a doula, or who can help facilitate that difficult conversation. What are we feeling? And accept and honor the feelings. There is no changing it. It is a sad experience. It's a sad journey. It's very difficult. But within that, there can be joy, there can be sharing, there can be much love expressed. Um, you know, Unexpressed things can come from sharing that experience. So by being strong and being able to, well, we take that with a grain of salt as well. Like how you describe strength can be different for everyone. But yes, I really strongly feel that acknowledging it, and moving through it, and absolutely find support. And there are so many support groups, with different focus, and maybe even create your own. If you're struggling to find, maybe create one. Reach out on social media, find somebody who's going through the same thing, so that you can talk about everything you're experiencing. Just remember, it's happening to you, it's happening to everybody around, it's happening to the person who is passing, of course, it's happening to everyone. Acknowledge and honor, and move through it, and create rituals as well, like a self ritual for self care. So I'm going into this environment, I know I want to be strong and I want to offer this support. So maybe create a ritual before going into a situation that is going to be very emotional for you. Rituals can be very healing. And by that, it could mean anything. It could be running your hands under some water. Water is very healing. Allow yourself to shed some tears. Water is healing. So there are rituals that are very simple that can help you. If prayer helps, in life for you, then use prayer before you're going into a situation, and that can help. So I hope that kind of helps there. Can I tell I myself? I know a few things about the progression when someone is very close, but I am not a medical person. I'm not a medical profession. I know that breathing changes. I know that the color of skin changes, but absolutely, I'm not the person, but I'm the person as a doula who would go to the healthcare people surrounding the individual and get all that information to be able to say, this is what's happening. This is how much time you might expect. But this is not a one-time event. This is not a linear event, and people can rally. Oftentimes when people go into a hospice, they rally because now they're in a different care situation, and it gives them a little bit of a lift sometimes. And so families will kind of get the wrong impression that, oh, they're improving, but it's kind of a momentary thing, and then we ebb and flow. So I'm the person who would definitely go and gather the information so that you can be at bedside with that person as much as you need to be. Um, Loss of a parent, I I think it's opportunities for, discussion with others, creating a small discussion group. And the problem too is we depending on where we work, if we're working, we don't get much time for bereavement. We don't. I actually sit on a task force with my Bereavement Ontario network, and we're working on examining um, bereavement leaves because we get, I don't know what it's like in the US in different fields, but we often get maybe a week, maybe 4 days for immediate family. So a parent, a spouse, a child, and then we're supposed to be back on the job. And and we have sometimes in our environment people will say, well, you're not over that yet, or so that can be extremely difficult. So again, I think it's very important to reach out to support groups, find people experiencing the same thing, reach out to a doula to help you find that. Look online. There are so many resources online. So I think that is, a good place to start. And journal about, about what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. Writing letters to that parent, can be extremely healing. I have run community sessions around storytelling and grief storytelling in particular. I've run death cafes where people can come and just talk about what, curiosities about death and dying and grief and bereavement. Um, and within that storytelling, I've done where people write letters to someone special. So it'll be, send me, and maybe they don't want to read it online, but they want me to read it in this online session. So, people will send a message to a loved one. And then they'll say, hi, Dad, today I thought of you because I saw an old Studebaker in a magazine, or, it could be just random things. But it really helps people to talk about their grief and not be afraid to talk about and mention that person's name, talk about them, create opportunities for you to communicate with others and with them. Um, I am afraid of dying. How can I deal with this? This is a huge question. Um, I think the more we know, the more we prepare, and the more we honor what we need throughout this journey, is how we can lessen our death distress. Knowing that I have decided, of course, we don't always get the opportunity, of course, we do not. Uh, However, if we do have the opportunity to share with our loved ones what is important to us. So again, I go back to that advanced care planning and even to something called a comfort plan, so that you express exactly what you want and need around you. By doing this, you empower everyone around you, including yourself. So I want to die at home. I want so and so around me. I want such and such music. Here's my playlist. Help me build my playlist. This is the music I want playing. These are the people I want surrounding me. Do I want anyone holding my hand? Don't hold my hand. Do I want people to touch my head? Don't touch me. Do I want energy work? Do I want some Reiki or healing touch to come into it? All kinds of things to consider to make it comfortable as possible, and to have the people around you that you need around you. And I can't stress how important. I will give you an example of a person, as we know in Canada, medical assistance in dying is available. And I had a client who had many months to um, deal with how she was going to deal when she got closer to the end. And she had decided that she would be ready when she could no longer swallow. Her illness would create that situation where she would not be able to swallow. And that was her final thing. And so she planned absolutely everything she wanted, where she was going to be, who was going to be there. I helped her and her family create a photo album that ended up being a gift to 30 members of her family. They held a celebration of life before her death. And it was a beautiful experience where everybody had a chance to talk with her. They had live music, they had food, all the things that she loved to do. She talked about her travels, and it was just incredible. So, really honor your life. And the other thing is, for me personally, I really hope to help people feel less afraid. Why are we afraid? We have birth, people are born, we celebrate, there's gifts, the baby is here, but yet we are afraid of this. And I don't feel that way myself, but I absolutely recognize how frightening it is for some people. But I'm trying to kind of work with, why are we so afraid? Well, part of it is the funeral industry came along and kind of um, made it all mysterious, took all the tasks away. As communities, we looked after our dying. We held funerals in our homes. Children were exposed to this life passage, life and death. And we've made it just so extremely mysterious, and we want to protect our families and protect our kids from this scary thing. So I think we've really lost something in that process, so that we aren't looking at the life and death. you know um, do people know that you can have a home funeral? You can literally be in your home. I mean, there's a lot of stipulations, but there are ways for you to hold a home funeral with your body in your home. Those things are possible here. And I'm not saying that's for everyone, and I'm not recommending it. I don't, recommend anything. I'm here for my client, and I learn from my client and from their circle of care. This is a reciprocal thing. I'm not leading, I'm not coaxing. You tell me what you want, I'm going to find a way, to help you get that. So, I think that fear is normal. I think we all are, have that fear to a degree. But the more you know, the more you explore, the more you allow other people to explore with you, I believe, in my experience, it becomes a little easier. How late can you make decisions? Right up and like, as long as you're of sound mind. So if in Canada, if you are interested in medical assistance in dying, there are, you have to be able to make that decision right up until the moment, right? So there are some new laws whereby if you've been diagnosed with, say, Alzheimer's, that what that is going to do, and you may say, on November 1st, I want medical assistance in dying. You may not. You're still of sound mind. You can sign a waiver, so that if your cognition declines before November 1st, you've signed that waiver and they can still fulfill your wish. However, it can't just be open-ended. I have Alzheimer's and I want to have medical assistance in dying when I've gotten to a certain point. It's not that easy. So, I mean, there are a lot of, there's a lot of criteria that has to be looked at. For people who are curious or considering medical assistance in dying, please reach out to your family doctor. I can only speak to in Ontario, where I am based. Speak to your family doctor that is something that you or your loved one is interested in. You can go online. The government has all the information online. Anything you want to know, coordination, phone numbers, anything you want to know about it is there. But definitely, I would start by speaking to your primary physician on those wishes. So yeah, you can make decisions in many different areas as long as you have sound mind, or as long as you have assigned a substitute decision maker who speaks on your behalf when you can no longer speak. But I will say that substitute decision maker cannot facilitate medical assistance in dying. That is something they cannot do. How do we prepare? How do we prepare for the worst? By doing all the things that I've talked about. Know what your choices are. Be as literate as possible. What are my rights and responsibilities? Who can help me? Who will advocate for me? Who is going to be that substitute decision maker for me? Assign all of this. Document every single thing you want, right down to, I want my purple socks on when I'm in bed. I know that sounds silly, but that can be something that is very, very important to someone. I want that shawl that my grandmother left me, all of those things. Document everything. Have somebody help you document everything and make sure that it's available to the people who are going to speak on your behalf. That's the other thing, is that we often say, if you want to see my will is in the blue file folder in the file cabinet downstairs, etc., etc. We take very good care of our legal documents. We think we have to hide them away, and however, when someone is going through a stressful situation where they are looking after you or they are responsible to facilitate anything, make sure they have copies. If you trust them to be your power of attorney for medical, power of attorney for financial, your executor of your will, really, if they have a copy, it's right there. They don't have to go search for it. It's a stressful situation. Make it as easy as possible for everyone, and that will empower people to look after you in the way that you want to be looked after. So again, advanced care planning, I can't stress enough. It's not always possible, but yeah. I am going to stop the share and yeah, open it up for if anybody wants to comment or ask any other questions. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I do want to say, just to add to it, two things. A great kind of schedule to get into is every year on your birthday, update everything. Look at your will, any other documentation that you have created, update. If it doesn't need updating, great. If it does, you've got that reminder every year on your birthday. The other piece is social media. If you're a big user of social media, go on your Facebook, whatever it is you use, find out, and you can add in who will be responsible for your social media page when you are deceased. And that is really important for everybody, whether you're, working, you're in this on this journey or not. It's so that that person can then go in and close your account. That way, no one hacks your account, steals your account. Very important. So yeah, get in the habit of every year on your birthday, or set a date that is significant for you. That every 3 months, every whatever works best. But yeah, just set a calendar for it. Yeah, you can close your social media accounts whenever you want. Not an easy task, might I say. So yes, you can definitely close your accounts, and it's a good idea to do that. I believe, on a personal level, I believe that having this available allows us to, some of us, to die with dignity, where we choose, so that we don't struggle with a lot of pain and discomfort. Some people don't want their families to watch them go through that particular thing. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people do make those choices. Again, it's not, some people think that end of life doulas are promoting that, and that is absolutely not the case. We do not promote anything. Like I said, we're there beside you. We're not walking in front. We're not behind. We're right beside you. Whatever you need, we're going to help with. But yeah, it's a very, very difficult situation, and we still are looking at in Canada, um, medical assistance in dying for mental illness, um, like
Yes, it's
lifelong diagnosed mental illness, as well as mature youth. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. We're not, nothing's happening now. That's kind of been put on hold for, but we also have, if anyone's interested in looking at Dying with Dignity Canada website, is an amazing website. I can't stress enough the webinars that are available on there. The stories, the information that is available there. Really excellent website, Dying with Dignity Canada.
One tip is to import your passwords to a password manager. Then you need to give your, then you just need to give your caregiver just one password to get into all of your accounts, to close them or otherwise. I recommend the password manager Bitwarden, as it's free and well regarded. So yeah, that's a good tip too, for sure.
Yes. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is very difficult for people. And you're right. People think that it's going to remind them of the death. And I like to tell people, and what is wrong with reminding us about the beautiful passage of someone in their own home, surrounded by the people that they care about? It's not, like it's not a horrible thing. It is a passage of life. And I will give you an example of a friend who, her friend's 32-year-old son is close to the end, and he's been struggling for 8 years with cancer. And how is he choosing? He's choosing to be home. And did I get this very question from my friend? How can I make this comfortable? How can I make the surrounding comfortable for him? And how can I address this very thing? And, is it going to be creepy, was the word she used, going forward? And I just so firmly believe that the fact that we open our home, open our space, create that beautiful safe space for someone to feel cared for in the comfort of their home, There's nothing creepy about that. It's, to me, an honor, to be able to provide that for someone. And it would be an honor for me, for myself, to be at home. And I talk about this a lot with my friends as well, because I'm getting older. We all talk about it, especially now that I'm in this business. So my friends are exposed to lots of discussions about it. But I just truly believe that it's more about honoring absolute. And we often we don't think about ourselves. Then we start thinking about everyone else, and this is your death. um I'll give another example. A mother of two 20 plus children, a boy and a girl. She knew her time was coming within a few months. She wasn't sure how much time she had. She didn't want to die at home because she didn't want their home to feel like the place where she died. She was choosing to go and die in a hospice, didn't want to be in a hospital. Things are not great in hospitals, right? So she knew she didn't want to go home. But what she did was hired me, to come in to facilitate that difficult conversation. What's going to happen? So I gathered all kinds of information for them, what it's going to be like for her when she's closer, um, right down to how she might look, and all kinds of different facts about the system and dying. And then we had a fantastic conversation where she said, I don't want to die at home because I don't want you to feel like, etc. And those young people were absolutely amazing. And here's what they said to her: all we care about is that you have pain control, you're where you want to be, and we are around you. And that can be at home, that can be wherever it is you want, we are there. All they cared about was pain control, mostly for her. And so her death came sooner than they expected. She died at home. They were surrounding her. They helped the nurse clean her and dress her and wrap her in the most beautiful blanket that her dragon boating friends had made her. And they were so pleased is not the right word, of course, but just it was a beautiful experience for them. Of course, extremely difficult, extremely difficult. She was only 59 years old. But they were beyond appreciative that they were able to care for her, especially post death, that they were there to cover her. So I think, really honoring yourself, or whomever, you must really work at putting yourself first. What is it you want? And then helping others around you to deal with. But it's not up to you to fix it for them. Maybe you and your daughter can select a place of reflection for her, and it doesn't have that your body is there or even your ashes are there. You could select together a special place, and that could be the place where you create a ritual around it, where this is the place that's important to you and I, and that could be the place where your daughter goes to reflect. We can reflect anywhere. Our loved ones, in my world, our loved ones are energy all around us when they've gone. So we can reflect anywhere we are. And if I could just say about spreading ashes, we have to be mindful of where we can do it, and check, and your local areas wherever you are, because sometimes you can't just spread them anywhere. Of course, people secretly spread ashes all over the place. A friend who went to a casino, somewhere in the U.S., put some of her mom's ashes right at a slot machine on the floor. So, which would probably not be lawful, but whatever. Yeah, so we do have to be careful, and that's the other thing too, is to be mindful of what, what kind of body disposition are you interested in? I mean, we actually have, water cremation now. We have green burial, we have natural burials. I mean, you can be wrapped in a shroud and decompose in the ground. Not always easy, so definitely something that should be part of your planning, and part of your paperwork, your documentation. If you do want to donate your body to a local university or whatever it is, because it's not always possible. And I will tell you that one of my first clients as a doula told me that she wanted to donate her body to a forensic farm located, she thought in Ontario. It turned, and I said, "What? I don't know anything about this." So it was quite a challenge to look into it, which, uh, it's not something that's widely talked about, but there is a forensic farm in Quebec.
Uh-huh.
So she wouldn't be able to donate her body there. And I mean, it's not, you can't just call up and say, "Hey, I want," there's a lot of criteria
Yeah.
around that. Yeah, that's a tough one, depending on ages, of course. I will say that when I'm asked to speak to different groups, I find that baby boomers, which I'm in that, I'm 67 years old, like we're old, these ages, baby boomers are a little more open to what we might consider alternatives, or which includes talking about death. Um, but I have to say that many people that I met that have been 80 plus are really hesitant to talk about it. And depending on cultures, of course, right? So different cultures feel that if you talk about it, it will come. So, it's, excuse me, it is a very difficult topic. There's lots of books out there, depending on the age of the people that you want to speak with. I cannot recommend enough finding someone else to facilitate the conversation if they're resistant to you. Um, Sometimes that's all it takes. Somebody else to facilitate it when you say, "This is really important to me. It's really something I need to take care of. I need to do. I love you. I trust you. You are people who are going to be possibly looking after me." Whatever it is. I would highly recommend having somebody else facilitate it if they continue to be resistant. Um, I often try to really focus on the beauty. Like, the end of life deserves as much beauty and respect and honor as the beginning. And that is something that I really work with. I truly believe that we need to find ways to do that. And it's a good time to be talking about it when when you have your full mind. You're not stressed about it. You just simply want to prepare, and you're actually preparing them in a way that they can support you in the most beautiful way possible. By your facilitating this, that is allowing them to be empowered, to be all they can be for you when they need to. There's a book called Talking About Death Won't Kill You by Kathy Cortez Miller. And, like, maybe pick up that book, and, that might help you get things going there. Yeah. I recently asked my own mother, who's 86, because at one point she said, if something happens to me, keep me alive, and no matter what. And I said, "So if somebody had to do CPR on you, you recognize they would probably break your ribs. It would be extremely painful. You're very frail, keep me alive on machines, whatever it takes." Well, we all know that she's not going to be kept alive on machines, but I don't bother saying that. I just say, "Well, okay, but." And finally I said, "What is your biggest fear? Like, what is your biggest fear about dying? Are you afraid of heaven and hell? Is it about that. I went to Catholic schools, when I was young. That's not where I am now. That's not my belief system now, but I certainly honor anybody's belief system and what they need. And that's the other thing we do as doulas. If you need something around your face, then we will help you, receive that as well. And when I asked, she doesn't like talking about any of it, but when I asked her about that, she said, yeah, I think that is it. So it's that basic for her that, it's about, I'm going to die and I'm going to hell, which I said, Mom, like, you're not going to hell. But I mean, I can't help her through that. It's not something that's, she can let go of. That's why these education systems, if you will, or processes, these meetings, these are so important to me. The more we can encourage people to talk about what they want to do, what they need, what their families need. I mean, the more conversation we can get going, the better it is, because we all too often don't have the opportunity. And
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Sue. That was a really great talk. And I love sort of the format of the discussion and your examples. I think that was really great. And I know I learned a lot. I hope everybody else did too. And thank you so much for joining us this month. It's really appreciated. And I see a couple of people saying thank you in the chat.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, it's an honor to be included with your group today.
And if someone wanted to access an end-of-life doula, how would they go about that?
The End of Life Doula Association has a website. I can send a couple of links for you. As far as Canada, we have a Death Doula Ontario network as well. So I can send a couple of those links that maybe you could send out. I just would like to organize them a little, after the fact, if that's okay. I'll send, a couple of things, but yeah, it's really always an honor to speak with everyone. And thank you for being so open to listening and sharing together.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sue. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. And if anybody has any questions or needs any support, you can always reach out to me at erin@craigscause.ca. And if you have any questions for Sue, I can certainly forward them on to her. So thanks so much again, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend. And thank you so much again, Sue. That was wonderful.
Sending peace and strength to everyone. Thank you.